Yes, good morning. My name is Ken Reardon, and I'm a professor of urban planning and community development at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. And my area of interest and expertise is resident-led planning and development in underserved areas in the United States and elsewhere. It's my pleasure to share a few ideas regarding the notion of community-based planning as a tool for advancing the just city. As many of you know, urban planning as a field began in the early part of the 20th century. Our founding father probably is considered to be Patrick Geddes, talking about the idea of bringing people together in a community to address common concerns. As this new field evolved, it tended to operate at the citywide level. And over time, the folks who were brought together to chart the future for urban communities tended to be more affluent, more powerful, more elite elements of the community. And the result was the plans that were developed in Europe, in the United States, South America, tended to reflect the needs of very powerful economic interests. In response to this, those communities that were left on the sidelines, whose vision and hopes and aspirations for the future weren't considered fully, began to organize at the grassroots level, at the neighborhood scale, often around a church or a community center, their own community of leaders and residents to formulate their own ideas for the future that would then challenge citywide or regional efforts. And so the definition we have of community-based planning might be the following. Community-based planning engages residents, business owners, and institutional leaders from economically challenged or disadvantaged communities in highly inclusive and participatory planning processes aimed at improving the overall quality of urban life through the design and implementation of comprehensive plans that address the most serious environmental, economic, and social challenges facing that community. And the important thing is that those folks who are most affected by these plans are the individuals who are put at the center of the planning process, that is, local residents. So it's very much resident generated. What are the objectives of this particular kind of planning? Well, really, there are three. One is to solve important problems identified as critical for improving the quality of life in the local community. Again, those are problems identified by residents, not some powerful centralized bureaucracy in downtown or another part of the region. Second is to do the work in such a collaborative and participatory way so that you involve new folks in community problem solving efforts, and as a result, enhance the capacity of those communities to do even more complex problem solving in the future. And third objective is over time to rebalance the power between local neighborhoods, particularly those that are low income or recent immigrants, and powerful long-standing interests. So, what are the defining characteristics of this kind of work? One, it's focused on the neighborhood scale, an area usually 5 to 10,000 folks in a larger city. Second, the process is organized and led and managed by residents who are most affected by decisions in that community. Third, it builds upon the natural, historical, educational, cultural assets of the community rather than being deficit based. It's very much focused on the best available information collected from a mix of quantitative and qualitative methods. And the last two things I would emphasize is that it's action oriented. These are not plans to be put up on the shelf for people to admire, but the real test, the evaluation of the success of a community based planning effort is to the extent to which it's implemented. And in order to guarantee the success of that, you often start with things that are easiest to accomplish so that you begin to raise the confidence level of people in their ability to affect change. Now, what are some of the benefits of this approach to planning? Well, it draws upon the vast knowledge, skills, passion, and commitments and resources of folks in the community who have a vested interest in its future and its improvement. Second, It involves a growing number of people in change efforts, and in doing so, builds a nonpartisan base of political support so that ideas can be translated into actual programs, projects, and concrete improvement. And the success of these deals with one of the most critical problems facing people who work for urban reform, and that is the sense of cynicism that many residents feel about the possibilities for change. The power of this approach to community planning to effect positive improvements in the nature of urban life builds people's sense that bigger change is possible. Some great examples of this work in Boston, we have something called the Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative. In British Columbia, we have something called the Collier Community Center Project. In Sicily, we have a Vivi Cemento River Plan Project. In East St. Louis, something called the East St. Louis Action Research Project. And there are lots of great resources in the form of written documents that can give you a sense of what this process looks like on the ground. Great book by Carolyn Crockett about change in Boston, led by local residents who are facing displacement by a highway planned by state and federal officials, called People Before Highways. There's a wonderful book that gives examples from across the globe of architects and planners working with local residents to effect change, called Building Together. And a book that I worked on called Building Bridges, which highlights the role of universities in partnering with community-based groups to effect bottom-up, bottom-sideways change. So with that, I'll thank you for giving me the time this morning and look forward to any questions you might have.